I want to talk about something a little bit controversial. I gotta keep my voice down. I apologize. Now, there's nothing wrong. Okay, so how do I begin this? I don't got a script. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. This is called the Stan Marsh effect. I created it a long time ago. I used to have a video about this on my old YouTube, but I got rid of my old YouTube. Okay, I'm not here to cause any drama or reply to drama. I don't care about dramatic comments. I don't reply to the comments anymore. Um, if you don't like what I say in this video, ignore it. I have my freedom of speech, I'm not here to invalidate anybody or anything like that. Okay, so yeah, this is just my opinion. This is just again, I gotta get my voice down because my mom's working. She works at home. Um, okay, this is just my experience. I know Asperger's syndrome is not like they don't call it that anymore. It's autism 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so actually, I do have a little bit written notes here. Um, if I get interrupted, I have to pause the video, by the way. Um, I'm just giving you a little bit of warnings. So, anyways, hold on. I remember testing for Asperger's syndrome in high school and got borderline Asperger's as a score. Like, that was my score. It was kind of like on the borderline range. I was confused and I thought they were saying I had borderline personality disorder along with Asperger's or something. Everyone in the school was hyping up the possibility that I might have this autism spectrum disorder when in reality I never did. I definitely have autistic traits. Like, that's the thing that people get confused about. Like, I'm not denying I have autistic traits. Like, I definitely do. I just don't think it's Asperger's. There's so many reasons. Like, I could make a whole entire video debunking why I don't relate to that subtype. I don't know if this is gonna be the video if I want to make a separate video about that, but and basically in a nutshell, there's so many like reasons why I don't think I have that subtype. I might not be able to tell you all the reasons because I don't really have that much time, and I don't really feel like going through all of the criteria. I mean, the subtype is kind of like dead, anyways. I mean, we don't use those subtypes anymore in the DSM-5. But basically, in a nutshell, it was for people that had no developmental delays, which that doesn't really fit me because I was developmentally delayed. And it's for people that are high functioning. Now I understand that functioning labels are controversial, and that's really up for debate. I mean, some people like the functioning label, some people don't. It's whatever. It was just really too specific of an autism diagnosis, or just too specific of a diagnosis in general for me. Like being average to high average IQ, which that does not fit me. That was actually proven to be false. I have a low IQ of 74 apparently. Apparently. The IQ test could have been and it could have been inaccurate, but um I don't know, there's just a lot of symptoms of that it never really related to. Like I can read faces fine. I'm not super sensitive to things. And I don't know, it was just too specific of a diagnosis, at least for autism. I relate to PDD-NRS, like I relate to pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified. Oh, sorry, I scratched my pillow. See, I scratched my pillow by accident. Sorry. I relate to PDD-NRS or multiple complex developmental disorder. I relate to that MCDD, but I don't know. Asperger's was just kind of like, I mean, the stereo, this the I don't want to rely on the stereotypes, but the criteria was like, you might have like a flat voice or be very literal. I take things literally, kind of. Says people with it are like very logical, overly logical. For me, not really. I'm very magical in my thinking. But anyways, um, yeah, I never really agreed with the whole Aspie label, and it's so crazy because like 99% of the people on the autism spectrum on the internet, at least, go by that label, Aspie. And I find that odd. It's like, where the hell are the PDD-NRS people? Like, I never hear them on the internet. It's so weird. I just never really, I never really understood why Asperger's syndrome was like the number one dominating disorder. other than the low classical functioning autism, like those were the only two forms of autism that was like always talked about, and I never understood why, because clearly there has to be a pervasive developmentally disordered, whatever. There has to be somebody like that has that somewhere on the internet, and I know it's really hard to find somebody with that. Okay, so yeah, okay, so never had issues reading social cues. It was all just some hype. This was like in the 2010s, so this is when Asperger's was starting to get like more talked about and recognized. And I think the psychiatrist kind of just slapped that label on me. I think I was officially diagnosed with that multiple times, but I don't think it ever fitted me. Again, it was starting to get hyped up as a disorder. It was starting to be talked about more. This is why I go back to the Stan Marsh effect, because even South Park made an episode about it. You know what I mean? And you know, yeah, it started to get talked about more in the media and shit like that. Um, about the pandemic, there were like a bunch of people with Asperger's syndrome on the internet that were saying stuff like, now neurotypicals know what it's like to be unable to read faces because you have to wear masks, you know what I mean, because of the pandemic. And I'm just like, that's unrelatable. I can read faces. I can read faces in the sense of I can read your emotions, you're happy, sad, and I can also recognize emotions. Face blindness, when, it's not, when people say that people with autism can't read faces, what people mean by that is they can recognize like Jim Carrey's face, like for example, but they might not know what he's feeling. Um, But there is a severe form of autism where you have issues reading emotions and you can't recognize people's faces. That to me is like, whoa, like unrelatable. Because even if I somehow do have issues recognizing when a shock face is a surprise face, because there's a difference between, no, 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 no. Shock and surprise is kind of like the same thing. Shock and scared, okay, because a shocked face is way different from a scared face. Like, even if I do have issues differentiating emotions in facial expressions, I can at least recognize who the hell the face belongs to. You know what I mean? And it's just crazy to me to think that people have face blindness and they can't recognize faces. That's not me, man. I mean, I can recognize people's faces. I know what they're feeling based on their face. Body language might be a little bit tough though, but anyways, I don't know. I can read faces just fine. I have verbal communication issues with people, not nonverbal communication issues. I don't have that. Um, yeah, I just disagree with the autism diagnosis. At least the Asperger subtype level one. I'm not level one. I can't get a job. I can't work. Yeah, to South Park in that episode, Stan Marsh he was depressed. You know what I mean? Like he was depressed, and everyone was misconstruing him as having Asperger's. You know what I mean? Like even Mr. Mackley whispered in the phone, "He has Asperger's," when in reality he was just depressed. I mean, you know what I mean? Like he was in the shower depressed. That's not Asperger's, and you know what I mean? Like, I have a history of like mania and delusions and stuff, and I would jump around in high school, on tables and talk about the devil and worshiping the devil. That's not autism. Eventually I got diagnosed with schizoaffective, which I think that was also a misdiagnosis. I've been diagnosed with so many different things, it's just kind of like ridiculous at this point. Um, um, you know, um, yeah, it's just, yeah, some of this was written down on the internet somewhere. Um, Even when I was made fun of, aka dealing with bullying in school, and on very rare occasions, um, confusing bullies with my reactions to the bullying, trolling them back with my reactions of the opposite way of distress, sadness, anger. and of embracing my cringe and self-deprecating humor of being the class clown. Teachers thought um, he doesn't understand he's being bullied. Yeah. They thought I didn't understand that I was being bullied, but really I was. I fully knew I was being bullied. I just sometimes didn't care. Um, you know, I don't know. I would just be the class clown and try to. I mean, the bullying was hard for me. But sometimes I tried to make it more of a positive thing and mess with the bullies. Um, Another thing I don't really relate to is alexithymia. Like that one blows my mind even more because I can understand like issues reading other people's emotions, but not knowing your own emotions. Like I'm not here to shame or anything, but that's so unrelatable. Like how can you not know what you're feeling? Like that's just crazy. Like this just I mean if that's what you feel, if that's what you experience, that's what you experience. But dude, I at least know what I'm feeling. You know, I'm angry. Um, Stuff like that. Yeah, even one therapist accidentally said that what I had was a disease. He said the word disease instead of disorder. And I had to correct him for that. I'm like, dude, I don't have a disease. What are you talking about? Yeah, there was one therapist that was kind of like gaslighting me by saying that I was missing social cues. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm replying to you right now. He was kind of like a jerk. Um, I met a lot of rude therapist that just tries to gaslight me and say you're whatever. One thought I was a sociopath at one point. I'm like, what am I missing? You know, like what social cues am I missing? Like really, like um, okay, so I'm gonna stop reading this. Don't get me wrong, I do relate to autism. Kind of, I have special interests and stuff, but what I'm trying to get at is that there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion about something. Like if they think that you're bipolar when you think that you have autism or vice versa. When I say they, I mean like the therapist or whatever. Like they like the therapist thinks you have bipolar. When you think you have autism, or you think you have bipolar when they think you have autism, like vice versa or whatever. Like you know what I mean? Like, because I've had a therapist say that I had schizoaffective when I felt more schizotype of personality disorder. What I'm trying to get at is that there's nothing wrong with trying to get a second opinion. I understand autism is a spectrum, and some of these disorders are actually spectrums. And I don't want someone accusing me of, you know, causing people to have imposter syndrome because I am aware of that. Any hateful comments and you're creating stigma and stereotypes and you're creating imposter syndrome and the Dunning-Kruger effect and this effect, the Mandela effect, and this. No, I'm here for the Stan Marsh effect. I don't care about these other effects that people want to talk about. There's nothing wrong with getting second diagnosis, even when it comes to my homocystinuria. Sorry, my dog barked. Sorry, I'm trying to zoom in here. Um, Even when it comes to like homocystinuria, which is like a genetic disorder, a doctor said I had that because I have high homocysteine levels. But yeah, he's suspecting I might have an aneurysm, which is weird because aneurysms don't usually happen in homocystinuria patients. So it's like I might not even have homocystinuria, and it's just kind of like confusing, at this point with a lot of my diagnoses, even like the physical ones. And there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion, and what I mean with anything. I never really fitted in with any mental disorders or with any group of people at all. Really, I tried fitting in with like the goths, with the goth people and stuff, and I kind of fit into the goth scene kind of a little bit, you know. But what I'm trying to get at is that there's nothing wrong with questioning your diagnoses, and I think a lot of people get way too comfortable with their diagnoses and they don't even research what the hell they were just diagnosed with. It's okay to question it. And I understand things are a spectrum, definitely. And I always said that if I am autistic, I have other things going on that's affecting my mind, obviously, like the schizo spectrum making me, because I think very, very illogical. I think a lot of my illogical thinking comes from low IQ because I don't know better. And my magical thinking and, the delusions that I have, and I have visual hallucinations and I don't hear voices. That's why I'm questioning if I'm even schizo. I definitely have some kind of psychosis. There's not really like a name for it that really that resonates me because I don't hear voices really that really. I mean, I've heard things before calling my name and stuff, but I don't hear any evil, messed up crap. And it's not on a daily basis. I usually just see colors and shadows, and I have weird beliefs that we're in a simulation and ghosts and aliens are real, and all this stuff. I used to worship the devil, which is really weird. What I'm trying to get at is that, that's why I thought I was schizotypal, but I guess not. But what I'm trying to get at is that, and my speech is kind of normal. The only abnormal thing about it is that I'm kind of disorganized. I always thought it was the ADHD, but it could just be disorganized thinking, not mania, but just disorganized thinking and schizoaffective. Or I don't know what I have, but what I'm trying to get at is that there's nothing wrong. I know I'm gonna keep saying this until the cows come home. There's nothing wrong with questioning your diagnoses. Um, and again, yeah, I understand. Like, and um, hold on. Just to wrap this up, I want to be seen as like me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you want to be seen as your labels, or at least a person that has a label, that's fine. But I'm at this point right now where I kind of don't want a label at all for anything, at least not mental health or anything. Or if I do, I don't want to be seen at like I am not my label. And a lot of people tend to get very caught up in labels and they tend to identify with the labels. And hey, if you wanna, I'm not trying to knock anybody here, but that's not me, man. Like, I think there's a difference between I'm autistic versus I'm a person with autism. And you could say, you know what, you say it however the hell you want to say it. I want to say it however the hell I want to say it. You know what I mean? Sorry if I'm stumbling. I just kind of don't want to get interrupted here. I'll go outside and record if I have to. I don't care if it's like 100 minutes long. But if I don't feel like I'm a part of the autism community, and I'm not trying to create stereotypes. Everyone with autism is different. Everyone with bipolar is different. The criteria is still the same, but and you don't have to have all of the symptoms, obviously. But if I feel separate totally from those people of autism or the goths or whatever the fuck, right? And I feel more like depressed or some other kind of label, there's nothing wrong with that. Or if I just see myself as like a piece of the autism people, I don't mean the puzzle piece. I mean just like just a little bit of autism, but I feel more something else. There's nothing wrong with that, guys. There's nothing wrong with migrating from one community to another community or just not being a part of a community at all. And just being, I want to be seen as me, Johnny. You know what I mean? Johnny that can be a little bit depressed at times. My name is Jonathan. I want to be seen as me. I don't want to be seen as autistic, schizophrenic, sociopath. One doctor thought I was a sociopath. I just want to be seen as me, man. And then someone could say, what about seeing yourself as you, but still having those labels on the side? Yeah, but I'm at this point to where I don't. The only labels I feel comfortable with are like style labels, like I'm alternative kind of in a way, but it's like at the end of the day, I just want to be free. You know what I mean? I don't want to have a label hold me down and define me. I want me to define me because, even a label is just a piece of me, but it's not the whole me. It's not me. The label is not me, and I am not that label. It's the label is just a piece of me. But I don't want to label as I don't want to label myself as a piece of something. I want to label myself as the whole of something. My whole soul, that just has pieces within it. Or I don't know. That sounds fucking crazy. Maybe I'm just manic right now, or I don't know. Um, Depressive, manic, or I don't know what the hell I am. Um, so basically, just to wrap this up, because I don't want to be too long with this. Okay, so I don't want to get off topic. I don't know if this is going to be the video or not, or I don't know. But I do want to make another video about I have a health update about, I'll make that a separate video, but I'm just going to end this video because it's getting too long and just say that I'm at this point right now where, and I'm not trying to paint autistic people as all one people. I'm not trying to paint people with schizophrenia as all one way. I'm not talking about stereotypes. It is true that I don't relate to the stereotypes of any of these disorders, but I'm mostly talking about the criteria. Like, I don't really agree with the criteria that I'm just socially inept. And you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of my misreading of social cues is actually like overreading them due to paranoia, because people with social anxiety, we're afraid of faces. We can read faces and we're afraid of them because we're afraid that someone's going to give us a judgmental look because maybe we did something stupid, or we're afraid we're going to do something stupid. Whereas people with autism probably have, they do have anxiety with eye contact, but they probably have, maybe they might have less anxiety reading the faces as a whole concept, because they miss social cues. They probably maybe have less anxiety with reading faces because they can't always read faces. So they're not really, I'm just assuming here, I could be wrong here, so correct me if you feel different, but because they have issues reading social cues, they probably have less anxiety about worrying about, did someone give me a dirty look? Because did someone give me a judgmental look? Because they might have just missed it anyways. With me, I'm over analytical, and I'm not an empath, but I'm kind of, very overanalytical. Maybe that's why one doctor thought I was a sociopath, because sociopaths tend to overread people. But I always assumed my overreading of social cues was due to paranoia, because in anxiety, social anxiety, because I'm afraid that, people are after me, and sometimes it is true. I get haters and trolls, but what I'm trying to get at is that, um, and when I do miss social cues, I think it's because of my ADHD distractions. It's not that I miss social cues in the sense of because I think people with autism, there was a video about autism versus ADHD, and the big difference is that even when an autistic person pays attention to the faces and to the body language, even then they still could misread it. Whereas the person with ADHD misreads social cues because they got distracted. I relate to the ADHD reason because I got distracted. If I'm actually able to focus on Donald Trump's faces and his hand movements, I can probably read what he's feeling and what he's getting at. You know what I mean? That's just an example. But no, it's not a learning problem for me. It's more of an attention problem. So I probably don't have ADHD, however you pronounce it. I think I just have ADHD, but I was never medicated for it. So I don't know. I just want to be seen as me, man. I'm some kind of neurodivergence. I don't know what it is, but um, yeah, I'm probably gonna end this video. I don't really want to make a part two because it is kind of a controversial topic to talk about. Um, so yeah, there's nothing wrong with getting a second opinion about whatever,